Hello students, welcome to KENE'S Educare, a group of KENE solutions. This is part 8 of lesson number 2, Is Matter Around Us Pure? Right? So in this part, as we discussed, this can be the last part, but let's see, because we are just left with one small part for this lesson and then we will be ending up with it. We have summary discussion and there are total 11 exercise questions, if you all remember, that we will be studying today, right? So, as we are on to part 8, you are aware of all the concepts that we have studied so far in the lesson. We are left with studying about elements and compounds, right, in detail, where you will be even coming to know the physical properties of metals. Okay, now remember one thing, that whatever physical properties of metal you are going to study, that is a property called as malleability, ductility, sonority. Okay, these are some of the properties of metal. The opposite is of the non-metal. Like if metals are sonorous, it means they are producing sound when you are striking them. Non-metals are going to be non-sonorous because they do not produce sound. Okay, then if metals are ductile, it means if you are able to convert that metal into thin wire, then non-metals are non-ductile. So this is how you should be knowing that whatever properties that we have for metals and non-metals that we are going to study, they are going to be opposite, and you can have a well-versed differentiation between metals and non-metals if you have to study it. Okay, so we will be studying about the how matters are further classified as elements and compounds. Then we will be discussing the elements and compounds in detail, and then I guess we have physical and chemical changes to discuss, and then we will be ending up by summary discussion and those 11 questions which have been there, right? So this is a short summary that I told you that we are going to do on this part. But before starting with that, I want each one of you to please go through all the slides properly. And now going through the slides means when you see the topic as classification of matter and you see the pictures of some consumable items, you should be knowing to explain them in detail in your own words rather than going through the slide. Okay. After this, we discussed on what exactly a mixture is. So I want you all to please go through the slide discussing about what mixture is. After this, we discussed on types of mixture, right? So I just want you all to please go through this activity like 2.1 and both 2.2. After this, we had this activity 2.2. So I just want each one of you to please go through it as well. After this activity, we discussed on what exactly a solution is. And here we have like different types of solutions which have been given. We have diluted solution, concentrated solution, and saturated solution. Even there are two differentiating points which have been given as well, right? So I just want each one of you to please go through this slide. I hope everyone is going through the slide. After that, we discussed on the examples of solution. So I want each one of you to please go through it once. After this, we discussed on the properties of solution. So I want each one of you to please go through it once. After this, we discussed on concentration of solution. So I want you all to please go through it as well. After this, we discussed on this activity as well. So I want you all to please go through it. After this, like we here have the three methods how can we express the concentration of solution. So one is like mass by mass percentage, mass by volume percentage, and last we have is volume by volume percentage, right? I hope like I want you all to go through all the three methods and whatever information they have given regarding saturated and unsaturated solution properly. Okay? After this, we discussed on an example as well, like how to solve any of the question if it has been asked. Okay, so please go through this as well. After this, we discussed on the properties of suspension, right? So I just want you all to please go through this. Then we even discussed about the Tyndall effect. So I want you all to please go through it as well. Then we discussed on the properties of colloid as well. So I want you all to please go through this properties of colloid. After this properties of colloid, here we have few of the examples of colloid which have been given, right? So I just want you all to please go through it once. So here the dispersing medium, the type of it and the examples are given. You should be knowing it as well. Then we studied separating the components of mixture, where we have 6 different methods that we have studied so far, right? So I want you all to go through, because like unless and until you're not getting clear with the 6 techniques, okay, because this is like one of the major part of the lesson, right? So I want you all to please go through the slide properly. Going through means you have to tell, explain the activity for evaporation on your own, explain the activity for centrifugation, chromatography on your own. I'm just showing you the slides. So here we studied about evaporation, and I hope like if I tell you to draw the figure for evaporation, you have to like, you will be able to draw it, and you will be even able to explain the activity with some of the points on evaporation, right? Then we discussed on like how can we separate a cream from milk. So we can do it through the process of centrifugation, right? So here we have the information on it, so I want each one of you to please go through it. Then we discussed on like how can we separate the mixture of two immiscible liquids. So I just want each one of you to please go through it. I hope you are going through this separating funnel technique and how exactly it has been used. The application part is also very important, so make sure you're going through the application as well. Then we discussed on like how can we separate the mixture of salt and camphor, right? So this can happen through the process of sublimation, right? Then we discussed on like is the dye in black ink a single color or is it different colors? And we studied it through the process of chromatography, right? So I just want each one of you to please go through this chromatography technique. Like whenever you are explaining this chromatography technique, make sure you draw this figure 2.8 where like the separation of dye in black ink using chromatography has been shown. Okay. After this, we discussed on like how can we separate a mixture of two miscible liquid, and we can do that through the process of distillation, right? So I just want each one of you to please go through it once. So here we have discussed on simple distillation and fractional distillation in detail. Then we discussed on like how can we obtain different gases from air, right? So I want you all to please go through it once. After this, we discussed on like how can we obtain pure copper sulfate from an impure sample, right? So here we have discussed on one more technique called as crystallization, that through the process of crystallization it will be easier for us to obtain copper sulfate crystals, right? After this, we discussed on like crystallization, what is the definition of it. So it's like crystallization is a process that separates a pure solid in the form of its crystal, and forming a crystal it forms a solution, right? So I want you all to please like go through the slide, because here we have some of the important questions which have been given. Then we have even studied on the application, and we saw how exactly the water reaches in our home, right? So I want you all to please go through it once. Now we need to discuss on physical and chemical changes. See, here we have like some of the examples as well given. If you can see the chemical change that is given first, is a chemical reaction forms a new product. Now always remember, whenever you are going to have like you can say chemical change, no new substance or product will be formed in a chemical change. But when it comes to physical, like a new product will be formed with respect to chemical change, but in physical change there will be no, like there will be no any change over there. Okay, so see, in previous chapter we have learned about few physical properties of matter and the properties that can be observed and specified, like color, hardness, rigidity, fluidity, density, melting point, boiling point. These are all physical properties because it keeps on changing, right? So the interconversion of states is a physical change because these changes are going to occur without a change in composition. So whenever there is an interconversion of state, that is going to be like occur without a change in composition, and you will see that there will be no change in the chemical nature of the substance. Okay, so although ice, water and water vapor, they all look different and display different physical properties, you will find out that they are chemically the same. So they are going to be chemically same, it's just that physically they will look different. Okay, I hope you all are writing and like the examples of physical and chemical changes have been shown. If you can see, like physical changes include melting, shredding, boiling, chopping, and chemical changes include like combustion, rotting, rusting, and even digestion, right? I hope everyone is taking a note of it. See, both water and cooking oil, they are liquid, but their chemical characteristics are going to be different. Okay, you will find out that they are going to remain the same. Oil and water are both liquid, but we know that the chemical properties of oil and water are different, right? Because they are going to differ in their odor and inflammability as well. Water is not inflammable, whereas oil is inflammable. It will catch fire easily, right? So we know that oil burns in air, whereas water extinguishes fire. So the chemical properties are different, right? So it is the chemical property of oil that makes it different from water, and burning is a chemical change. Always remember that burning is a chemical change, it's not a physical change. And we know whenever there's going to be a chemical change, it is going to result in formation of a new product, right? So chemical change brings change in the chemical properties of matter, and we get a new substance. Okay, so chemical change is also called as a chemical reaction. So you should not get confused over there. And lastly, we have that during burning of a candle, both physical and chemical changes take place. So we are going to distinguish between the physical and the chemical changes over here. I hope everyone is going to this slide. After this, now we have the next thing to discuss is what are the types of pure substances. So see, on the basis of the chemical composition, substances can be classified either as an element, or we can classify them as compound. Now if we can see, we have this table given where we have pure substances classified as chemical elements, compounds and crystals, right? So under chemical elements, we have tin, sulfur, diamond which have been included. Under compounds, we have sugar, water and baking soda which are included. And under crystal, we have salt, protein crystal and copper sulfate crystal, right? So I want you all to write this, that substances can be classified as elements and compounds, and then you can write this chemical elements, the compounds and the crystals part. Okay. So now the rest of the part studying about elements, studying about the properties of metals and about compounds. We will do that in the next class. Okay, I won't start it today. Okay, so we'll discuss about elements and compounds in the next class. Along with that, we have activity and then the differentiation between metals and compounds. There's one more table, that is like how matters are further classified as pure substances and mixtures. Then under this pure substances we have elements and compounds, and under mixtures we have homogeneous mixture and heterogeneous mixtures which come, right? So after this we have the summary discussion. So we are just left with a small part now, because if I start with it, even though if I complete the lesson, we will be left with the exercise question. So I don't want to do that. Okay, we'll do this properly in the next part and make sure that whatever we are studying, like I want you all to please go through the summary once, because we are almost done with the lesson, right? So I want you all to please go through the summary once. So after this summary, we have few of the exercise questions to discuss. I want each one of you to please go through this exercise questions which I am showing you on screen, because in the next class you are the one who's going to be who is going to answer this. So this is how we are going to end up with the lesson, is matter around us pure? Okay, so I hope whatever we discussed today in this part for the lesson is matter around us pure, you are very much clear with it. Okay, now whatever part has been left, okay, we will be continuing with that in the next part, but make sure you keep on revising it. Okay, so like next part is definitely going to be the last part, so make sure whatever exercise questions that you all went through, you are even aware of them, because that those questions are very important as well. Okay, and the reason of showing those questions were because so that you are even prepared, your mind is prepared that you need to answer them all. Okay, so now I'll continue in the next part. Thank you everyone.